Alright, so this is the week 1 animated sequence sketch lab. So basically what I want you to do is just copy what I'm doing. When you're done, you're just going to submit that file. And that's pretty much it. So it should be pretty straightforward. The idea with these labs is that basically whatever we would normally do in face class, you're basically going to submit those as homework. You're still going to have projects that are going to be due. That would be your out of class time. But anywho, there you go. So what I want to do is this. We are going to, for the first project, basically just do a small little animated, I'm thinking like an e-card kind of thing, just a real simple animation. Yeah, so that's basically it. So we're just going to do mine, and then you will do one as well. It can be whatever you want, but we're going to do this one for the lab anyway. So just follow along and so on and so forth. So first we're going to do is you're going to open up Adobe Animate. It's going to look at something like this. Then what you do is you just go to full HD, and we're just going to do full HD. So I'm just going to basically do this, and more or less it's the settings that you would typically expect for HD resolution. So I'm going to hit Control minus minus, plus, okay. Minus and plus is zoom in and out. I think there is a zoom tool here as well. But basically, if you look at the stage, it's 1920 by 1080, which is kind of like the default HD resolution. There's also 1280 by 720, and there's 4K, which I don't even know what that is. But anyways, it's 16:9 aspect ratio. So anyways, we got 1920 by 1080, so that's great. We got our stage here, voila. So what we're going to do is basically just create some artwork to start with. We will then in the next class bring that a step further, but this is more just to kind of get you, used to using Flash. All right, so what I did is, and I will have this on my website as well as Blackboard, I downloaded this picture. Come on, baby. Here we go. Okay, so I downloaded this picture on Blackboard. You can see basically it's just this I'm going to use for the background. It's just Cecil College. And I also have this drawing from the drawing I made, which is a PNG, which is probably going to show up black because it's going to be, oh, okay. Sometimes it does black for the background when it's a see-through drawing. But basically it's just the cone character, and that's going to be it. So we're just going to basically draw those two things, and by the time we're done with that, everything will be good. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm bring those in as reference. I highly suggest, you're going to eventually do your own project. Like, we're doing a lab of this, but you're going to do it for a project as well, kind of simultaneously. I highly suggest that whenever you do any project, be it this or whatever it is, as much as you can use that you don't do it necessarily on the computer, you don't use technology, it's going to be better because it comes more from here and it's less influenced from here. And it gives you a starting point. And it's really easy, and you can sit on the beach and just do a drawing. It's not that big of a thing. So anyway, we're going to bring those pictures in as a reference. So I'm going to click on the library, and that's not how you do it, but when we bring images in and we save symbols and things, and we bring video in and things like that, this is our bucket of like just stuff that we can use when we're working. So it's going to show up here, but I just want to show you. We're going to go ahead and do File, Import, and we can import to stage or we can import to library. I like to just do library and then drag it in. It's really kind of the same thing, but I'm just going to import to library, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab both these things. Okay, so click on one, Control, click on the other, open, and there they are. Okay, so we'll start with the background, and then we will do the cone character afterwards, because the background should be a little bit easier in the grand scheme of things. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to click and just drop it like it's hot, and you can see there it is. All right, and it automatically shows up in layer 1. You can see when it was gone, this was a clear. Now you see it has a little black dot as opposed to a not filled in dot, and that was not what I wanted. Sorry, I was working on something earlier. But now you can see it's black, solid, so now you know that there is something on that layer. And this is just going to be a reference layer to basically draw this. Okay, so I'm going to plop this in the corner, and I'm going to scale it up. So what we're going to do is with it selected, hit Q, or you can select this over here, and that's the transform tool. Now it's weird because they made it so that if you're familiar with Photoshop, which you probably are. I think you have digital imaging or take this class. You'll remember that before when you wanted to scale things, you'd have to hold shift to scale them. But then in, I think as of 2020, maybe 2019, but they made it now that it's always proportional when you scale, and you have to have hold shift to not do proportionate, which is actually smarter because honestly that's usually what you want. This actually didn't change yet. Anyhow, you can see this is where the pivot is, so it's scaling from this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this and drag it to the bottom left. And you still have to hold shift. So I'm going to hold shift, click and drag, and I'm just going to scale it up till like there. All right, and that's good. So there you go. Now what I want to do is adjust this. If you double click on this, the word, it will just show up as a thing. So I'm going to say background reference. Bueno. But if I double click on the icon, the layer icon, it'll actually bring up the layer properties. So inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and just change the opacity to 50%. The reason why is I'm going to draw over top of this, and with it 100%, it's going to be harder to see my lines. This way I can see my lines. Okay, that's the idea. So anyway, we'll hit OK, and boom, now you can see it's semi-transparent, makes it easier to work. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock it with a little lock. That way I don't accidentally draw on it or move it or do anything weird. It'll just be locked into place, and we can kind of use it from there. So now what I'm going to do is make a new layer by clicking on this button, which is pretty similar. And we will just go ahead and just put background. Great. Okay. So actually, let's call this just building. Okay, because I'm just going to draw the building only in this one, and then we'll do the other elements. Okay, so I got to draw this building here. Okay. Now my plan is what I want to do. This is the goal. We're just going to do a simple little thing. I'm going to make it look like the camera is panning across the building. So what that would do is that it would make this part of the building get smaller, and this part of the building here would actually kind of expand. Because if you were going around the building, that's what it would do. What we're going to do is we're going to draw this in sections, and then we're going to scale this part here smaller, and this part here bigger, and it'll actually give it an illusion of looking 3D. You'll see when we do it. We're not going to do it today, but we're going to do it later. Anywho, we're going to draw this basically as the whole building, and then later on we're going to cut it into chunks. But I'm going to put this underneath the other parts. Okay. So we got the building, but I want to be able to basically move the different pieces so that when I pan across, it will look right. So, a bunch of different ways of drawing. And this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to use the line tool here to draw this. Now, you're going to notice that by default, if you go to your snapping, oh good, mine's on the defaults. You're going to see when I click, notice that it's like, you see the snapping? It's really hard. Like if I wanted to go in between here, I can't. See how it's snapping? It's really annoying. I don't find the default snapping settings to be that great. So if you go to View, go to Snapping, you can see it has basically everything on. I'm going to just click on Edit Snapping. You can turn one at a time, but then it executes it and then it's done. But if you go to Edit Snapping, you can go ahead and just click all of them. So I'm going to turn off this. I don't need the grid. The grid's great if you're doing certain kinds of work, like we're doing websites and things like that. We're not doing that. We're doing kind of just graphic work, and we're not trying to make graphic work that fits in a grid. Snap to guides. I don't have any guides. I'm just going to turn that off just in case because I don't know if that could happen. Snap to bitmap pixels. I also don't really care about that. The only one I'm going to leave on is snap to objects. And the reason why is you're going to see that was going to be useful when we try to draw out our stuff here. Okay? So we'll hit OK. All right. So, yay. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and draw out this object here. So, yeah, let's do it. So I'm just going to draw it. So I'm just going to use the line tool here. So I got the line tool. You see I'm in the library panel. Let's go ahead and go to the properties panel. So the stroke currently is black. You can choose different color. Honestly, I don't really care because we're going to probably remove that anyway. And I just made the thickness. I just made it 2. I feel like that's good enough. And the rest of it's fine. That was good to me. All right. So I got the line. we're doing this. Okay, so I'm going to start, it doesn't really matter where you start, to be honest, but I'm going to start kind of in the inside, which usually you want to start on the outside. I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag, and I'm going to put it there. Okay. Now this is where that thing that I did earlier is useful. You're going to notice is, when I click on that, you'll see it actually snaps. See how it's actually snapping to that line? And because I went up to here, and when I clicked, it actually snapped to that point. So it's going to draw a line directly from where the other one ended. Makes it a lot cleaner and a lot easier. So I'm going to go there to here. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go from here, click down to here. And I'm going to click from here to, and I'm going to have to imagine where it would be. And we'll go to here. Now you can see I'm past it, but I don't really care that much. And I'm going to click on this corner, and I'm just going to drag down and go straight. The nice thing is with this photo is that the verticals are all actually perfectly vertical, which is kind of impressive in a way. But I guess probably not too, because it's a building, so it means they built it right. But still, anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and go like that. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit V. I'm going to click on this guy and delete it. And then I'm going to go back to my line tool, which I think is N, right? N? Yeah. And I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to click and drag down and make it less straight, like that. And I am going to guess what it would be. I can see this vanishing point here. You could calculate it, like I could do that. Let's just do it. So I can take this and go as far down as it will let me go, right? Then I can take this line and go far back as this one goes. And it looks like the vanishing point is somewhere here. So basically I would have to take this line and go somewhere like here. Oh no, that wouldn't work anyway, actually. Never mind, we're not going to use that. It'd have to be to this one, so I'm not using the right line. Sorry, not this guy, it'd be this one. Went to the wrong one. So if I went here to, let's see, try to keep it straight to here. So it'd be there, and then I would draw this line basically to there. And that would be the accurate, if you remember your 1-point perspective from 2D design, there you go. So that's my best guesstimation. Anyway, so we do that. Then what I'm going to do is this. I am going to simplify this because this is going to be cartoony. So I am not going to like pull this out and do a little edge. I'm actually just going to go ahead and just keep making this go down straight. And we'll go to, let's say, here. And I'm going to go from here. And I'm just going to try and make it follow that line to here. And then here I'm just going to guesstimate. And it's trying to go parallel. And I don't really want it to, so we'll go like that. Okay? That looks acceptable. Okay, and then what we're going to do is go from here up to about this line, and then we're going to go from this line up to there, boom, and this should be connected to here, and then we'll click on this to here. And the nice thing is, because we have that snapping on to snap to object, it's actually snapping to all the points, and it makes it so much easier to draw. Okay, I'm going to hit V for the select tool. Okay, and I'm just going to get rid of these extra lines that I drew before just for the purposes of trying to figure out where things go. All right, I'm going to hit N again for the line tool. And I'm just going to click this horizontal across. And I'm just going to go straight across. And I'm going to click this and go straight down. And then I'm going to hit V and get rid of these. Because I'm having to kind of guess where that's obviously going to be. And now I need to do this part here. So again, I'm going to hit N, and we will click, and not like that. I'm going to Control plus, because this is a, let's see if I fit, I can just about fit it. Okay. So I'm going to click and drag down to, I guess, here. And I'm going to click and drag down. Say there, and draw a line between those two, draw a line between these two, and then what we're going to do is click here to, we'll say, here. And we will draw here to about, I don't want to do that. We're going to go to there. And I'm going to take this, I'm hitting V, and I'm just going to snap this up to the same line. Just so it's the same. Control minus minus. Alright, good. So now we have kind of the basic structure of, let's say, the building. And that looks pretty okay. So let's go ahead and, I don't know what we call this, Cecil College sign, so we'll just call it sign. So I'll make another layer, and we will call it sign. And I'm basically just going to go ahead and draw out this sign here. And I'm going to turn this layer off so it's not in the way. So we're going to use the line tool here, and I'm going to start where the curve ends over here. So Control plus. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to drag to there. Okay. Click and drag down. I'm going to click and drag down, and then we'll click and drag here to here, and then I'm going to hit V, and I'm going to go ahead and basically click and drag this arch like so. I'm going to click and drag this arch like so, and that looks pretty okay. Now you're going to notice that on the top, I wish the bottom actually worked pretty okay, I think because it's kind of flat here, but there's a little bit more of an arc here. So in order to adjust that, I'm just going to go ahead and hold and go to the subselection tool. And if you've used Illustrator or maybe a little bit of InDesign, you remember that we have these little handles, these Bezier handles. I'm going to click and drag. So what I did is I clicked over this point on the top, and I'm just going to click and drag this to like here, and I'm going to grab this point. Oops. Grab this point. Come on, you can do it. There we go. I'm going to grab this point and just make that a little bit more accurate. Okay, good. And I'm just going to make sure this is back on the regular selection tool. Huzzah. Okay. So that's more or less that shape. Control minus. That looks acceptable. Let's actually change the name of this. We're going to call it sign wall. Great. And now what we're going to do is add the, turn that back on. I'm going to add the ground here. So that should be relatively simple. So again, I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm going to click from, and I'm just going to put this like it's going across, regardless of this college sign. So I'm going to click here, and I'm just going to drag this up basically to this point. Oops, I'm still on sign wall, sorry. Undo that, make a new layer, and we'll call this ground. Alright, so click, and I'm going to drag up to this point, and then I'm going to click from this point, and I'm just going to drag it off over here, okay? And I'm just going to maybe turn these off, turn both of those off. I'm going to hit V for that select tool. I'm going to add a little bit of curve to it, and then go like, oof. So you can see I'm not going to be able to get what I need out of this, so I'm just going to pull that up. We're going to have to go, and if you just hit A, it's actually the same thing as grabbing these. So I'm just going to take this guy, and I'll click and drag this guy down, like so, and we will leave this guy like that, so that curves nicely, and this one's fine, doesn't really matter. That's good. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my line tool, and I'm just going to draw the line for this sidewalk here, and that's fine. Now the only issue with this, or one of the issues with this I should say, is that it's obviously, it's not, let me grab this line. I'm going to pull it so it's a little bit off, is that they're not completed. If we wanted to put a fill on this, obviously, it wouldn't quite work, but I'm gonna make it go off the thing here a little bit, so that way we have a little bit of room to play with if we want to move this. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my line tool, and I'm just gonna cut across here. Actually, I'm cut down, and then we'll cut across, and you can see it snaps to straight, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and go with that, and cut up. And I'm going to go back to my select tool, and I'm just going to make sure that these overlap, or go up to it. That's fine. That one overlaps. I don't think this one's overlapping. Okay, that one snapped too, and I'm just going to make sure that this is also snapped too. Okay. So now that they're snapped too, those are officially whole shapes. I'm going to go hit V with the select tool and just delete the extra little nublets on the end of them. I don't think this is actually snapped. Make sure that's snapped. And we're going to delete the extra nublet here. So you should be able to tell if it's snapped because if I click on it, you can see that there are clearly two sections. All right, so we got the ground plane. That's looking acceptable. Good. And now we need is the sky, which the sky is just going to be a shape, and then we need the clouds and the trees. So let's just go ahead and do another layer, and we will just call this cloud. Oops. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Let's try that again. Clouds, trees. So we got these trees, and we got the clouds. We could do this in a couple different ways. It's kind of up to how you want to do it. I am just going to go ahead and we're going to turn these layers off. And I am just going to draw these manually. There are a variety of tools available. I'm going to actually use the pencil tool, which might seem kind of weird. But I'm going to use the pencil tool here. Typically, I'm not a big fan of, but my plan is with this art set is I'm going to actually get rid of the lines. So we're just going to use this general pencil. So I'm just going to kind of trace. And I'm going to picture what the trees probably look like. And I'm going to go past where they are. And then we'll just go like this. And let's go ahead and make sure that's finished. Okay, good. So that'll be my trees. And then the cloud, kind of the same thing. Still with the pencil tool. We can just copy these guys. It's fine. I'm just going to try and simplify them. That looks terrible. So we'll just go womp, womp, womp. I'm going to picture what it probably is, because I'm an artist and everybody's an artist, whether you are or not. I can just make up what I want. There we go. So those look not good. Great. Let's do another. There's a little cloud here, so I'm just going to picture that this cloud is like this. Great. Okay. So now at this point, I basically have all of my lines drawn for my. Oops, I turned them all off. I have all my lines drawn now for my background, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and fill all these objects in the next video, and then we should have kind of a background at that point.